guests from all over the world. It is my joy, my absolute delight to welcome each and every one of you to our Masters of Evaluation Toastmasters Club meeting today. I'm Muriel Shabazz, and I serve for these last 2 weeks as our Sergeant of Arms for our distinguished Toastmaster Club. Here at Masters of Evaluation, we meet the first and the third Fridays of each month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Our mission here at Masters of Evaluation is to equip our members to give effective evaluations that enhances their speeches so that their impact on the world is impeccable. Our club prides itself not only on being distinguished, we also take very seriously providing a safe and secure meeting for our members and for all of our guests. To that end, we want each of you to know that a high level of trust, honor, and respect for each one in attendance is not only encouraged, but it is required. Masters of Evaluation Club members are focused on perfecting speaking, leadership, and evaluation skills, not necessarily in that order, which eliminates any room for personal offenses. And where is page 2? As Sergeant at Arms, it is also my role to share a few housekeeping rules that's going to provide us with a good, smooth flow of our meeting today. We ask you to please turn off your cell phones or silence them. Please turn on your cameras, which will make for a much more interactive meeting today. However, if you are eating or drinking, please turn your camera off until you finish your movements. Just remember to turn your camera back on. Finally, if you're serving in a speaking or functionary role, we ask that you rename yourself at this time so that we may identify which role you are serving in. I believe the recording has started again. Thank you, Sandra Savage. It is now my pleasure to bring to our virtual stage the distinctive, the dynamic, he too is always poised, Mr. Toastmaster, Presiding Officer, Vincent Neri. Vincent?
Hello, Masters of Evaluation. I welcome you to this 797th meeting of Masters of Evaluation. You're all surprised. So many meetings. Well, we do many meetings in one single session. I would like to welcome 2 guests. Jovita, why don't you just tell us where you're from and why have you come to speak at our club tonight?
Oh, I'm from Southern California. I live in Playa Vista, retired aerospace. And I came here today because Muriel invited me. And, and the reason I came to speak is because I'm speaking next week at NSA, the LA chapter. And I wanted to preview my speech a few times to different Toastmasters. And because it's evolving. By next week, though, I'll have the speech that I really want to give.
Wonderful. This is the way to success, Jovita, and we will be happy to give you all the feedback we can possibly give you. Michael, thank you very much for coming once again.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. It's been lovely seeing your first meeting, and I think it's going to be terrific to come back and get a little more of that Masters of Evaluation juice. I am very thirsty for that. I'm sort of looking for a home club here in Los Angeles. So it's been terrific to visit a couple, and I'm back for this meeting as well.
Wonderful. We will ask you later on what you've been thinking about our meeting today, where you can think we can improve. And last not least, before I hand over to our Toastmaster of the day, not morning, not evening, not day, I would like to ask you all to give a warm applause to Shawnte, our Toastmaster of the day, because she has been elected. Yes, she has been elected as being a district officer in District Number 1. She will be District Growth Director. Now, isn't that something? She will allow us to grow, all of us. Huh?
Club Growth Director.
And she is also very good at Canvas. So if you wanted to and have any questions about designing posters and leaflets, then you can probably turn to her. I turn the stage over to her. Once more, a warm applause to our Toastmaster of the day, Shawnte. The stage is yours.
Well, thank you for that great introduction, Vincent. And yes, I am your Canva guru and your Club Growth Director for next year. So I'm probably going to be calling on some of you to help me out as we get through this year. So don't be surprised when your phone rings. But for today, I get to be your fun-loving Toastmaster for June 2nd, Masters of Evaluation. Now, one of the things I do first thing in the morning is I always look to see what national day it is today, just because sometimes it's just really fun to know it's National Whatever Day. So today is National Donut Day, and it is also National Leave Work Early Day. So I invite you all to leave work early and go get some donuts. I think it'll make you very happy and enjoy the day. But now let's get on to our meeting, because that's what you guys are all here for. So as I said earlier, I am your Toastmaster. I get to be your fantastic host for today. But of course, as any great leader, I cannot do this by myself. So there is a fantastic team that is going to work alongside me and help us out today. First, I would love to introduce our Zoom master, who is April, to come to the stage and let us know what her duties are for today. Is April here? April's not here.
I don't think she is.
Who is our Zoom master today? Who would like to be our Zoom master today? Well, since the rules were to name yourself, I'm just going to pick somebody maybe who doesn't have a name of a role already. Let's see who's not on the agenda. I don't know. John White.
I'm not on the agenda.
White. John White
I'm Zoom late, so I will mute and kick you out. Those are the two options.
John White, please come to the stage and let us know what you'll be doing as Zoom master.
I am the recently elected Zoom master. I will be trying to eliminate any distractions from people who are making noise or somehow disrupting the meeting, and I will allow for the orderly joining of the meeting. I will vet people to make sure they truly are Toastmasters and wish to contribute to this meeting. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Next up, we have our general evaluator, who is none other than the amazing, the great, the wonderful Sandra Savage. So Sandra, please come to the virtual lectern and let us know what your roles are for today.
No pressure, Shawnte. Well, as all of us are adults, we can behave pretty well, so I don't think John or I will have too much to deal with. But I have a group of people who are going to ensure that this meeting is a quality meeting by staying on time and challenging our speaking skills and giving us feedback on our speeches, both the prepared as well as the impromptu. And the most important person in my book is the person that gives us a word that we're going to adopt for the day. And our word master today, our grammarian and counter, is Jesper. Jesper, would you please explain our word of the day and put the meaning in the chat?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, based on where you are in the world. Before I go into the word of the day, I'll introduce my role. As counter, I will be keeping track of your filler words. Recently, I've started to call it driller words. When you go to the dentist and your dentist starts using dental drills, you start using non-words such as ah. If you decide to use filler words today, it's going to remind me of my next dentist appointment. As grammarian, I will be on the lookout for creative words and phrases. And the word of the day is celebrate. The definition: it's a verb. It is to acknowledge a significant or happy day or event with a social gathering or enjoyable activity. Used in a sentence, we are here today to celebrate the accomplishments of some of our members. Shawnte as Club Growth Director, Ray for competing in the evaluation contest, and Vicky for graduating from Harvard. These are reasons to celebrate. If I missed any other recent celebrations, my apologies, but if there are more accomplishments, more reasons to celebrate. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jasper. Excellent word. Let's use it as much as we can today. Shawnte always gives us the challenge to see if we can use it 100 times, but we don't have to go overboard, but it is a wonderful word. Next, to make sure that we stay on time and we can celebrate getting out and enjoying our day is Muriel. Would you explain what you're going to be doing today as our timer?
Yes, indeed, Madam General Evaluator. My role as timer today, it says that we are going to practice what they say one of the lessons in speech training, how to express a thought in a specific amount of time. I'm going to keep track of each speaker to make sure they stay within their time boundaries. I'm going to operate a signal, a green, a yellow, and a red, that will indicate the beginning, the middle, and the ending of a person speaking. I believe, Jovita, your speech is 8 to 10 minutes. Is that correct?
I would like, yes, but it might be 10 to 12.
Okay, 10 to 12. May I do green at 10 for you?
Okay.
Okay, 11 yellow and 12 at red. And then, of course, you will have 30 seconds to wrap up your thoughts, okay?
Okay.
All right, got you, 10 to 12. And for our table topics, which is 1 to 2 minutes, each participant will have 1 to 2 minutes and an additional 30 seconds. At 1 minute, I'll show the green. At 1.5 minutes, I will show the yellow. And at 2 minutes, I know it's getting good to you. However, I'm going to show you the red, and you two will have an additional 30 seconds to wrap it up. For our evaluations, will that be 2 to 3 minutes, Sandra?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty, ma'am. At 2 minutes, we'll do the green. 2.5, we will do the yellow. And at 3 minutes, we'll do the red. And each evaluator will have an additional 30 seconds to wrap it up. Sandra, would you like me to time you as well?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yes, actually,
Okay.
let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay, how much time would you like, beautiful?
3 to 4.
Okay, 3 to 4 sounds good. So at 3 minutes, I'll show you the green. 3.5, I will show you the yellow. And at 4 minutes, Sandra, I know you got a lot to share, but you got to stop talking, as Anthony Pring would say. You got to stop talking in 4 minutes, and you'll have an additional 30 seconds to wrap it up. All righty, I believe that wraps up my role. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator. And I want to say that I am celebrating the life and legacy of the inimitable, the powerful, the life and legacy of the one and only Queen of Rock and Roll, Tina Turner. So I'm going to be celebrating all this weekend and making sure that I remember all that she has done and shown to us. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Muriel. And if I could dance like her, I would.
I'll teach you some moves later on.
Yes. Well, we have 2 speeches today and 2 evaluators. And as general evaluator, I'm going to be looking for not only the quality of their observation and the feedback that they give to the speakers to help our speakers improve, but I also have 2 additional challenges to keep you on your toes today. So our evaluators, please take note. I would like for you to figure out who is our speaker talking to. Can you guess who their audience is? And the second question is something that I learned from Sheila of Hollywood Joe and Sheila. What spoke to you? What one thing is going to stick in here for a very long time? What spoke to you? And hopefully there's at least one key message, if not 2, to each speech. And then afterwards, we will get into the evaluations, because that is what Masters of Evaluations does. We go beyond the typical evaluation into one that looks at not only the body language and the gestures and listens to the voice, but also the most important thing, what are you talking about? Why are you saying it? Why are you the authority to say it? And so forth. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our Toastmaster to start our meeting into the good, juicy stuff. Back to you, Shawnte.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, we have an amazing, amazing agenda set for you. And as it has been mentioned in this section before, we have so much to celebrate today. But today, I celebrate all of you, Masters of Evaluation. So thank you, Masters members and guests, for showing up and being here today. Our first speaker is an amazing, wonderful woman and guest. But before I read her bio, I'm going to turn it over to Ray Sweeney so that he can let us know what her speech objectives are going to be for today. Ray, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. So tonight we're celebrating simply the best. Jovita Jenkins tonight, as she told us earlier, for the LA chapter, is practicing a speech that's going to be given at the National Speakers Association, the NSA. The speech is 10 to 12 minutes long. It's from the Dynamic Leadership Path, Level 5, Professional Speaker. So best of luck. Back to you, Shawnte.
Thank you, Ray. So let's all get ready to celebrate Jovita. Jovita Jenkins has been a Toastmaster since 1994. She is a West Coast hidden figure, strategy coach, leadership development consultant, speaker, educator, STEM advocate, serial entrepreneur, and author. In her first act career, Jovita retired as an engineering director at a major aerospace company. Now, she coaches international aspiring and existing executives and facilities women executives peer groups for Chief. Next week, Jovita is participating in a National Speakers Association sponsored event designed to help NSA members create a video segment for their speaker reels. She is accomplishing not one, but two goals simultaneously, creating speaker video and completing the Pathways Dynamic Leadership Level 5 project, Prepare to Speak Professionally. Her speech title today is Get Out of Your Own Way. So please welcome to the virtual lectern, Jovita Jenkins with Get Out of Your Own Way.
How often have you had a magnificent dream that others talked you out of pursuing? More than once in my life, I've had well-meaning people say, "You want to do what? What makes you think you can do that?" Well, I choose not to listen to them. Instead, I will always be grateful for my family, especially my mom. I credit my mom with encouraging me to think for myself, ignore naysayers, get out of my own way, and pursue my dreams. And I can still hear my mama's voice saying, "Baby, you have opportunities your dad and I didn't have. You can do, be, and have anything you decide you want. It takes desire, dedication, and education. And don't you let anybody discourage you. Get out of your own way too, and be the best you can be." So my favorite question is, what would it be like if I could? And then fill in the blanks. So how would you fill in the blank? What could you be, do, and have if you could just get out of your own way? So you might be wondering how a young Black girl growing up in the midst of the civil rights era became a West Coast hidden figure in aerospace. like the women in the blockbuster movie Hidden Figures, and follow that with an entrepreneurial career as an award-winning author, speaker, global executive coach. Well, I did all that. And I'm really thankful to my family for being my rock and my support no matter what. So my first major was to become an audio animatronic technician. I think I was just fascinated by how the word sounded. Audio animatronic technician. That was the original name for what Disney now calls Imagineers. But in spite of my parents and what they instilled in me, imagine their surprise when I chose to aspire to a career building robots for Disneyland, not a doctor or a lawyer or any other trending career. My dream was to be able to build robots. And that was my inspiration for going to college. However, just as I was about to graduate from college for the first time, the Russian Sputnik satellite launched and the US aerospace industry was born. Of course, my first thought when I heard about aerospace was, what if I could be a part of this brand new aerospace industry? You can tell I'm a futurist, right? So at the time, space seemed like much more intriguing to me than robots. My new degree in applied math really qualified me for entry and training in this new field. So I pivoted. I had the opportunity to support projects like the space shuttle, the space station, the Hubble Space Telescope, missile and satellite programs. And eventually it led to running an engineering division at a now defunct aerospace company. It was TRW. I spent over 30 years of my life in aerospace. And while there, I worked for and with a wide variety of leaders. A few that I felt were good leaders and a whole lot of bad ones. I know firsthand what it takes to survive and to thrive in difficult situations. And the expertise that I gained and the lessons that I've learned as one of the few women and people of color competing in the mostly white male-dominated industry equipped me for this next phase of my life. So the one thing I really gained from aerospace was the desire to help develop leaders that I wouldn't mind working for or with. And I discovered coaching as a part of my leadership training for my expanding career roles. So can you imagine my next thought? It was, what if I could coach and mentor managers to become leaders who could create organizations that build trust from the C-suite to the front line? And for me, executive coaching fit that bill. There were still voices, some well-meaning and some not so much. And the gremlin in my head that made me, we had the usual comments, but there was also how can you give up the career you worked so hard for and pivot to something totally different? Well, then I still hear my mama's voice in my head, and I decided to go for it. So I've pivoted to building a dynamic career as a speaker, author, and executive coach with firsthand knowledge of what it takes to be successful in a leadership role in a major corporation. And my coaching clients range from beginning managers to C-suite people. And I also support an elite membership network of women called Chief. And I facilitate peer groups for them. I actually have 3 groups, and they're the most wonderful women that I think I have ever met in my life. And so why is my story relevant to you? Well, we all face, we all face transitions, some voluntary and some not so much. But we can reinvent ourselves and our organizations for the future. And I think COVID really was the catalyst for make a lot of people start thinking differently about where they were, what they were doing, and what they wanted to be doing going forward. So to be successful going forward, no matter how you define success, would require that you put behind you some things that no longer serve you. Gain more clarity on who you are and who you want to be going forward, and to really make space in your life so that something new can emerge. Ask yourself the question, what would it be like if I could? And fill in the blank. And then take some steps to move toward your dream. So in case you were wondering how I found the courage to make such atypical decisions in my life, because there aren't many people who look like me who wanted to do the kind of things I wanted to do when I was growing up. I have kind of a little philosophy that I use and that I also use with my clients. And that's what is, what if, what matters, what works, reflect, and repeat. So for what is, get clear on where you are now. You have to have a starting point. For what if, ask yourself the question, I wonder what it would be like if I could, and fill in the blank. That helps you decide on a direction to move in. Now you might change, it's a journey, it's not just a destination. And then think about what works. What works for you? What are your values? What do you really want? What kind of things give you energy and that you would really like to try and accomplish? And then what works is, what one small step can I take to move in the direction of my dream? After you take that step, reflect. Is this working? Do I want to keep moving in this direction, or do I want to pivot again? And that's the reflection part. Think about how it's going, if you want to continue in that direction or not. And then repeat. Start with where you are now and go through the steps one more time. What is, what if, what matters, what works. Reflect and repeat. It's a spiral, and it keeps you moving in a direction, maybe not the direction you initially started in, but you end up where is, I believe, where you're supposed to end up. So my passion now is helping aspiring and seasoned leaders use this process to develop the skills necessary to become the type of leaders that others admire and want to work for and with. What's your desire? So like my mom always said, with desire, dedication, and education, and maybe a coach or mentor like me, you can do, be, and have anything you desire. What's your dream? What could you accomplish if you could just get out of your own way? Believe your dream is possible. Remember, impossible contains two words: I'm possible. And now is the time to go for whatever it is you dream. Believe you can. Get out of your own way and go for it. Madam Toastmaster.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Shavita, for sharing. I am now going to make sure that I believe that everything is possible. If we could please, Madam Timer, put 90 seconds on the clock so that we can send some words of encouragement, feedback, and just words of celebration for our first speaker. Please.
All right, 90 seconds starts now.
Thank you.
It's 90 seconds.
Thank you so much, Madam Timer. Now, our next speaker needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is not going to have an evaluator today, but I still would love to introduce our very own Vincent. Vincent has been a Toastmaster for not one, not two, not three, but 10 years. June 1st, 2013, to be exact. Vincent is the president of Excalibur Speakers in London, which is the oldest advanced club in the UK. Now, I know we're all in California, but Vincent hails to us all the way from Spain. Okay, some of us are in California, some of us are in other places. But Vincent is coming all the way from Spain to speak to us today for 5 to 7 minutes with his speech entitled, I Can Hear You. Do I Feel You? So please welcome to the virtual lectern with celebration, Vincent, with the speech entitled, I Can Hear You, Do I Feel You?
This introduction will be shorter than expected. There's always been some sort of surprise factor when you see me and when you hear me. Today's project is giving feedback to our table topic speakers. It's a listening project, active listening. So I will be paying attention to our table topic speakers, and I will follow Sandra's advice. I will also advise you to concentrate on your audience. When you speak in table topics, consider who your audience is, and if your speech, even if it's only 2 minutes, has value to your audience. And when you do your speech, consider what speaks to you or what speaks to your audience. What is the central message? How do you move somebody's heart and emotions? And you can do that through rhetorical devices. You can do that through your voice projection. So I will be listening carefully. This is what I like to do very much, to listen carefully to your mini speeches, which should have a great opening, a body, and a conclusion. Back to you, Mrs. Toastmaster of the day.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So then in that case, I'm assuming we are not going to give you 90 seconds right now. We're going to wait till later when you come back and you do your magic and you celebrate the table topic speakers and give your feedback, and then we'll do that all at that time. Sing. So then, Madam Timer, can we please have a timer's report?
Absolutely. So Vita, that incredible speech, you did that in 10 minutes and 33 seconds. And Vincent, it was short and sweet. You did it in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So now, without further ado, I would love to introduce our table topic speaker for today, the amazing, the wonderful, the beautiful Judith Ferber. Judith, please welcome to the virtual lectern.
Thank you, Judith Ferber, just fine. I like to share my screen. I don't know whoever is responsible for that. I would appreciate that.
I love it.
All right, so today we're doing storytelling. What I'm going to do is I will give you your first line and you will tell a story for 2.5 minutes. And that's what is going to be here. So here we go. Let's see. So this is our first line. So Jasper, this is your line. He hadn't seen the old man since.
Thank you, Toastmaster or Table Topics Master Judith. He hadn't seen the old man since World War I. It had been such a long time since the soldier had seen his great-grandfather because he was also serving in a different war. And he did not get the opportunity to really travel back and see his great-grandfather in his vacation home. It's just been such a long time that he was trying to plan something, but he finally did it. He went on Expedia, booked a trip to the Bahamas, where his grandfather is. He did some activities like bike riding across the island. He also went skydiving. He didn't go with his grandfather. That was before he reunited. He wanted to experience the Bahamas because that's pretty much one of the greatest things you can do while you're there. But finally, just after so long, he visited his grandfather, and they talked about war stories, about their battle scars and what they went through and what they've experienced. And they just had so much in common that they wanted to plan another reunion the next day. As I mentioned, the soldier hadn't seen the old man since World War I, and now that they've caught up, they're so happy that they've reunited together, and that is something to celebrate. Thank you, Table Topics Master Judith.
Thank you. Well, that's the excellent start of a little storytelling time here. And this is the second thing. The old house with its wildly overgrown garden was silent, secretive. John White.
Yes, it was wildly overgrown, silent, secretive, and foreboding. It was a house that was in disrepair. It was on the corner, and the whole neighborhood was afraid of it and its occupants. Once an old man had been seen. He was a World War I vet, pre-Bahamas trip. And he was an ornery guy. He was armed. He had demonstrated the willingness to use his arms on local kids who walked on the yard. And it was just a terrible place. The local neighborhood association passed a resolution to have it condemned and to have the people kicked out. And it was going to pass. And then the grandson heard of this news. This is, again, pre-Bahamas. And said, this neighborhood doesn't understand my grandfather and the service that he's done. The world has changed so much. We're on the internet. Sure, he's upset. He's lost his wife, who he loved so dearly. He's estranged from his father. He was sort of a bad seed, and he's trying to hold on as best he can. Can't we have some compassion? This man gave his life to the war, to the world. Please give him another chance. I will talk to him about surrendering his arms. Can you meet me halfway? And that's how that house and that man was saved. And he is now known as, back to you, Judith.
Thank you. The next line is, she was furious. How could their neighbors ask that of them? Jack Kaminsky.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. She was furious because she lived in that old house that had overgrown vines all over, whose lawn had not been mowed. And she had lived there with that World War I soldier. What happened was that they were challenged, as we were challenged today, to say the word of the day 100 times. And she said, I want you all to unmute yourself right now. John, I see you're not unmuted. Come on. I want you all to say the word of the day, which is celebrate.
Celebrate.
Wait, I can't hear you.
Celebrate.
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 Great. 2 more times, please, everyone.
Celebrate.
Celebrate.
Okay. Very good. And she said, thank you, neighbors, for doing all of that for me. I can ask you to do things too. Not only can you ask me, but I need to ask you to do things too. And so she was no longer furious with her neighbors, and she learned to love them and respect them. And that's how she got along with all the people in her neighborhood. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you. The next one is the girl shouldn't have been sacked, but if he said anything. Karina, what do you think of that line?
I don't know if I can say anything to this girl who has been sacked because I haven't met her before. This way, I don't know what the reasons, why, what happened. I'm afraid I cannot explain the reasons because she should have been sacked. I think maybe she was not nice enough. She was not kind. Well, what happened with her? No reasons I can find to sack her in our club, our life. Back to you.
Thank you very much. She had only given in because she was lonely. Ray Sweeney. That is your first line.
Thank you, Judith. Can you just repeat that?
She would only given in because she was lonely.
Loneliness. What a subject. It affects us all at different stages. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can be 15, you can be 95. Loneliness can affect us all. Joining clubs like this, getting engaged, being engaged with the community, finding a network can bring you out of yourself, can take you from those depths of despair, those feelings, those painful, hurtful feelings of loneliness that we all experience. To join a club where what you can do is celebrate. Celebrate. That's the spirit. Never mind the loneliness. That's behind us. Bye-bye. It's all about enjoying yourself, finding a network, finding a place where you can thrive, work with your peers, aspire to be better. Never mind loneliness. It's over the shoulder. Back to you.
Thank you. That is so perfect. So he looked at his phone, turned pale, then quickly left the room. She watched him smiling. Let's see. Michael.
He looked at his phone, turned pale, then quickly left the room. She watched him smiling because she knew that her plan had succeeded. A long time ago in college, they had met. And things had proceeded at a party to the point where they found themselves quietly ensconced in a room that was dark enough to begin kissing. And the kissing proceeded to a point where she knew that this was something that felt different than she'd ever experienced before. Something a bit dangerous, something a bit frightening. And at a certain point, she knew that this was too much for her. And she began to push him away, to get the courage up to say no, to say, please don't do this anymore. And for some reason, he felt entitled. Being a member of Parliament in the future, he had been born to a life of wealth and ease. And at this point in his young life, he made the crucial mistake of going too far. And then she had hatched a plan that one day she would exact her revenge. And it happened later on when he'd become successful. And she knew him still. She was a barrister at this point, and she decided she would find a way to confess and prosecute and have him held responsible for something that he'd done years ago. And so when she got the message forwarded to his phone that the journalist was about to break the story and ruin his career, the smile she had on her face could not have been more satisfied. Madam Table Topics Master.
Wow, that is a phenomenal 2-minute story. That's, thank you. That was just fabulous. Okay, so she was a stranger in a very strange land. Marjorie Duarte, am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I was a stranger in a very strange land so many, many years ago. But I came to celebrate this wonderful country. And I have been here for more than 23 years, and I have been doing many, many good things and learning from this country too. We just celebrated the Indy 500, and it was a beautiful week. It was full of food, people from around the world, and everybody was celebrating this time of the year. Right now, I just came back from a walk. I was trying to release my sadness because I had experienced a sadness this morning. And right now, I'm here, sitting here in front of all of you, celebrating my return to Masters of Evaluation. Back to you.
Thank you so much. And let's give one line or timer to Muriel. And let's hear her story. There was something not quite right about the window.
Let's see. Can somebody time me? Shawnte? Judith? Ray? Anyone? Okay, I found myself. Let's see. What does it say? There was something not quite right about the window. There was something not quite right about the window. And she couldn't figure it out because the people that kept walking by, when she looked out the window, they looked like words instead of people. And what words did they seem to represent? So when she looked out that window, instead of seeing them as people, she saw them as concepts. She saw love. She saw self-acceptance. She saw self-affirmation. She saw not just people, not just colors, not even cars. She saw concepts. And what she decided was this was an incredible way to look out this window. And she decided that since this was the best way for her to begin to envision and see things, not as people, but more as concepts, more from her consciousness, not from looking out from a limited purview, but looking in a way that would really reflect the joy, the beauty, the love, the peace, and all of that she felt inside. And so that was what was right about the window, even though she kind of felt that there was something not right about it. But she decided to make it right. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you. All right, so I have one more here for Sandra, then I think we all had our stories. So, it's so lovely to meet you. It was said in a way that immediately made him feel special. The long-lost family member.
At a recent family reunion, we had been told that we would be meeting somebody new to the family, but yet an elder. And we all were wondering what was the relationship we had with this person. Was this an uncle, a dad, grandpa, a cousin? Who was this person? And everyone was apprehensive, except for her. She sat there quietly with a smile on her face, so that when the elderly gentleman walked into the crowd, he immediately walked up to her. She had a welcoming appearance. She had her posture leaning into him, and she smiled and said, "It's so lovely to finally meet you. Hi, my name is Sandra. What's yours?" And as I took him around to each person in the family, I introduced him, but I didn't give him a label. I didn't say grandpa, dad, uncle. I just said, "Hi, this is Vincent. I'd like to introduce Vincent to you." And everyone got to meet him without knowing the relationship. They got to know him for him and not for who he was related to or how he came to be within this large family. And they just sat there towards the end of the evening and they watched as everyone packed up their picnic baskets. And then he turned to her and said, "You know, it's been so lovely to meet you." Back to you.
Thank you. How are we doing our timing? I thought that if we have one more story.
It looks like you have time for one more, Judith.
Okay, so let's have Shawnte give her a chance for a story, since I think everybody else, spoke as I can see. So, as the prison gate closed behind him, he saw someone waiting for him.
As the prison gate closed behind him, he saw someone waiting for him. And at first, he looked because it wasn't clear on who that person was. But then as he began to focus, he realized that that person waiting for him was him. He was looking at himself on the other side of that prison gate. Confused, he stood there and just stared as he watched himself behind the gate doors. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. What could he have possibly done to put himself behind the gates? Well, you see, the prison gate that he was standing behind was the gate that he had created for himself, because he had blocked himself from all of the possibilities that he could have been. He had imprisoned himself from all of the pain that he had experienced, that he just couldn't let go. He sat on that other side of the gate and watched himself fall into what a lot of us do, is that prison of not letting go. You see, ladies and gentlemen, he could have easily left the prison had he just released himself from the pain, had he just forgiven and moved on. But he didn't. And so he was forever imprisoned within himself. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you. This was fabulous. So let's celebrate all our fabulous storytelling people, the storytellers. Thank you. This was a wonderful session. Thanks, everyone. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. You guys were absolutely amazing with your small tales of table topics. I am excited to hear what our table topics evaluator speaker is going to feedback he's going to give later on. But first, can we please have a timer's report? Madam Beautiful, Amazing, Wonderful Timer Muriel Shabazz.
All right, I will celebrate all of those adjectives that you have for me today. For our table topics, Jesper, you were at 124. You and John White tied at 124, 1 minute and 24 seconds. Jack, 146. Karina and Ray, you were just a tad bit under 1 minute. Michael, I have you at 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Marjorie, 1 minute 56. John had me at 132. Sandra, 146. Shawnte, I had you at 147. That's my timer's report.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you all celebrate that you were all within time today and have an amazing afternoon after this, you guys get some donuts. So moving right along, we are going to go to our general evaluator, who is going to now lead the second part of our wonderful celebration today. So Madam General Evaluator, the wonderful, the amazing, the beautiful Sandra Savage.
Thank you, Shawnte. This has been probably one of my favorite meetings so far at MoE. And Judith, if you would do us a favor at the end of the meeting, not now because we'll all start playing, but if you could copy and paste the URL into that prompt generator, I think a lot of us would enjoy using that. I know as a writer, that could be so helpful to me. And that was great table topics. Thank you. Let's get some feedback first from Ray, our international evaluation winner. And he had a tough job today getting his words and thoughts together on Jovita's speech. That was just, I actually usually have scribbles and scribbles, and I was just so in awe of the speech. So Ray, let's see what kind of feedback you have for Jovita.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Jovita, are we celebrating? Did you get us out of your own way? Did we manage to step? Yes, we did. I believe we did. As a group, collectively, we all followed. Your opening was really powerful because you started with a question that always engages the audience. It brings us in. It's like that warm blanket that we all love. You asked, how often do you talk yourself out of your dreams? Oh, of course, we can all relate to that. We've all done it. How many times have we procrastinated? Look at the audience, all nodding. We're all procrastinators at the end of the day. You engaged us with a story, and that's what I love. Stories always make speeches memorable. Mum and Dad, we can all relate to that. Takes us back, that lovely, warm family moment. You told us how we can change and pivot to an audio animatronic technician. Wow, there's a mouthful. Try saying that twice. Let's aspire. Robots. It gives us, envisages us of the future. So everyone's interested straight away because it's something we don't know about being a technician. The birth of the aerospace industry. 30 years, that's quite some achievement. You told us about how leaders survive, how they thrive. Your career. You gave us an example in that story of how you can pivot and become a speaker, an author, and a coach. 3 examples that we can aspire to. You then hit us with this philosophy that really sticks. What is? What if? What matters? What works? Reflect and repeat. Now that's a mantra. How can we make this speech even better? Now that's the trick, and that's a difficult task. As Sandra just said, there's some great points here, So if I may be so bold, of course you were using notes, we could tell. I'm not sure if this speech is in person or you're going to give it online. If it is online, my recommendation would be to set your notes up somewhere in your line of vision so it doesn't detract and the eyes are in line with the camera so we can see your beautiful smile and you're engaging with the audience. So the trick is trying to find where to position your notes. Secondly, when we use notes, if we're talking about a subject that's complicated, that we haven't remembered and we haven't internalized, it disrupts the flow, that musicality of a speech. So I would say internalize the main points and remember them. And that way the flow will come natural. And thirdly, if I may, is perhaps to trim it down because there was so much great information there. That mantra, what is, what if, what matters, what works, reflect and repeat. Perhaps that could have been at the beginning to plant the seed and we come back to it again, full circle at the end. That way you leave it imprinted in the audience's mind. In conclusion, you gave us a story that was full of passion, empowering us as potential leaders, everything that we stand for as Toastmasters, what we're all looking to achieve so we can all relate to it. You gave us Mum's message, do, be and have. Everybody loves a mum's message. In finishing, end with power, get out of your way, go for it. And I am sure the NSA are going to be celebrating your victory next week. Back to you.
Thank you, Ray. And now we know why you have that beautiful plaque that you received for your competition. Ray, I think you did mention to you what stuck with you, what spoke to you. But could you repeat that again? What one line spoke to you the most?
The mantra. What is, what if, what matters, what works, reflect and repeat. So I want to hear that 3 times and then I've got it.
Yes, I agree that it was a very strong line. And if she were looking at one person in the audience, who do you think she's looking at?
Either to Muriel or Shawnte.
And why is that?
Friends.
Okay.
And the empowerment journey that Shawnte is on at the moment.
But if she were speaking to an audience that she did not know, full of men, women, and people of all ages, who do you think she's looking at?
All of us, definitely all of us with that story. You know, we can all relate to it, the family story, how it's easy to pivot and do something, get out of your own way, stop tripping yourself up. We all do it, we all procrastinate. So everyone can relate to that.
For me, I wanted you to say that she was looking at a little girl because it's such a powerful message that more girls should hear it before they become women. And I think we'd have a stronger collection of people who go out and get out of their own way. Thank you very much, Ray. That was an excellent evaluation. Vincent, where did you come up with this idea that's super hard for yourself? Next, we're going to hear from Vincent, who's going to give us feedback on our table topics today.
Madam Timer, Muriel, would you mind giving me about 5 minutes, sort of 3, 4, 5?
3, 4, 5. You got it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
When I listen to speeches, I follow Sandra's advice and I want to know how I am part of your speech. And I do that also in table topics. And I will come back to this phrase in a minute. When I listen to speeches, I also listen to rhetorical devices, powerful language, creative language. And again, I will be coming to that because I've heard that as well. When I listen to you, I like to you to use all the time you have. And there were a couple of people who did not. Let's start with transitions. I enjoyed that Jesper started the World War One story of the soldier and his alter ego, then skydiving in the Bahamas, and John followed suit and translated the situation into suburban Los Angeles. But somehow, although I think it was a beautiful continuation, I felt the transitions weren't right. There were too many facts. And usually when I listen to somebody speaking, if there are more than 3 or 4 different points in a short story or even a longer story, I tend to forget what I heard before. So I would try to focus on 3, 4 main points in your transitions. I also would like to tell John, Michael, and Jack that they have done wonderful with their voices. Voices are so powerful. If you have vocal variation, if there's what Rita said, musicality in your voice, that makes us eager to listen. There were 2 more people who did something similar, Muriel and Shawnte, but I would like to talk about them in a second. So really the vocal variation, I will give examples of these. Jack said, what did he say? For instance, he's involved the audience. He asked questions, which was great. Michael, he talked about this looking at his phone and the voice, and then he came on being confused. Then there are, what I just said, Muriel and Shawnte. They both started very creative stories, and they brought us in. She going from an image to concept in Muriel's case. She saw them not as people, she saw them as concepts. And the limitations were taken away. You could see into their inner sight. And this is exactly what Shawnte followed on, although it was a different story, that the person was imprisoned by himself, and he had to learn to let go. And I think these were both concepts which are transcendental. They stay with me even beyond this meeting, which I find important, because we are speaking here and we want that our messages stay with our audience, that we somehow change their attitudes. And I think both Shawnte and Muriel both try to do that, to change our views of how we look and feel. What I liked about Sandra's speech was that she was the only one who said Vincent. And really, until we hear our own name, until we hear you in your speech, we're not really involved. People are just talking about, and I remember Jasper's grandfather, the soldier in the Bahamas. I got lost. I just said that this is too much information. Whereas Sandra was she was talking about the family story, and suddenly she said, Vincent. I said, huh? She's talking to me. I'm part of the story. And that's important. If we can manage that, then we become involved. I still have a few moments, most of them where I will go back in my list. 2 people I mentioned before who did not qualify if it was a competition. But I think Karina and Ray both did not use their time wisely. If you have 2 minutes, take a few seconds to think about it before you start speaking, and then can start your story. Having said that, and I see the red card, I say thank you very much and have a pleasant afternoon.
Well, thank you, Vincent. That was a challenge for sure, but it was enjoyable to have such a wonderful table topic generator. I loved it, Judith. And there was little tidbits of everybody's story that I plan on borrowing. I've heard the word steal is not appropriate, but I'm going to borrow a lot of your phrases today. And Muriel, I loved yours with people walking by with names and not their faces. I just thought, going back to Jovita's speech about, don't let anything get in your way. Well, you make up your own sign. Carry that around. And I like that. Jasper, would you like to give us a report on how we use the English language today and our special word of the day, celebrate?
As grammarian, let's celebrate creative use of wording and phrases. Jovita, the early career that you had and how interesting the phrase sounded to you. Audio animatronic technician. The uniqueness was just so special to you that you repeated the phrase again. Audio animatronic technician. And I really like the flow of the phrase, what is, what if, what matters, what works, reflect, and repeat. And I'm going to celebrate the separation of the words from impossible to I'm possible. And Michael, one of the words you used, ensconced, I actually had to look that up. Ensconced, and it actually means to establish something in a safe place. So very creative usage of the word ensconced. And Judith, after Michael shared his table topic speech, as a compliment, instead of saying good job, great job, you used the word phenomenal. And that was a very interesting of the word in a compliment. As far as filler words, today we were mostly clean. I did catch myself, minor instance for John and a minor instance for Jovita, but today was not a trip to the dentist. So excellent. As far as word of the day, I counted 22 instances of celebrate. However, if you count Jack's special presentation, I did lose count after 10,000. But overall, phenomenal use of the word of the day. Let's celebrate the wins. Back to you, General Evaluator. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jasper. You were right on top of that, and that's wonderful. Well, now it's my time to give some feedback to our evaluators. And so I'm going to focus on Ray and Vincent. And I've already grilled you a little bit, especially Ray, because we're good friends, and I can do that to him, on what their evaluations gave to the speakers in my opinion, and also what they could do to do better. With Ray, I liked how you related. You gave Jolita feedback on how she related herself to not only individuals, but to the group. We all felt included in her speech, even though it was a speech about herself. And that's an interesting technique to be able to accomplish so well. You recapped how you felt during her speech. And I think that's very important, because if we don't feel something when someone is talking, it's not going to stay internalized. It's not going to be in your heart or in your head or in your thoughts. So that's really good that you made a point of noticing your feelings and telling her how that changed as she did so well with the changes in the jobs. One thing I was hoping, Ray, you would have pointed out, and only because I'm curious myself, is where in the world did Jovita get that gumption, that attitude? Where did that come from? Because I want to, I can't say steal, borrow some of that. And so asking her, because that's a unique quality. We'd like to find out more about that. I like how you suggested that perhaps she rearrange a few things, use that indelible phrase, or the phrase of what is, what if, what matters, what works. I was thinking of it as rinse and repeat, but it's reflect and repeat. And so I think that was a key phrase, but I love the title, Get Out of Your Own Way, as well. And that would be also a great opening, just saying, get out of your way and get everybody's attention. Vincent, I think you made it too hard on yourself, and yet you pulled it off. You were able to not only look at everybody's feedback on, or everybody's response to the table topics, but you were also able to group things that were similar. And I liked how you pointed those out, in that we were kind of stringing a story along, some of us, and others were doing our own interpretations. And this is something I would like to see. Anybody else would like to see this type of feedback on table topics again? By the way, it does qualify as one of your projects in Pathways under active listening. So being a table topic master or table topic evaluator will get you another project completed. And if you ever have any questions about Pathways, let me know. Well, we are ending perfectly on time. We did great time management. Thanks a lot to Muriel, keeping track of everything, and everybody staying within their limits. I think the meeting was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. It was probably one of my favorite. We had a lot of changes at the beginning on roles, and we did it without a fuss. Isn't that nice? Just get into the meeting, get it started, get her done. And so I thought that was done very professionally, where we were adaptable and everybody was willing. And that is the end of my report. Shawnte, can I turn it back over to you?
Absolutely, Madam General Evaluator. I would be delighted if you would turn it back over to me. Thank you all for an absolutely fantabulous Friday. I enjoyed being with all of you, celebrating, getting to know all of you a little better. And I am privileged and honored to have been your Toastmaster today. So without further ado, I am actually going to turn over the virtual lectern to our presiding officer, who is presiding to be here with us in not so sunny California today. So Vincent, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Shawnte. And thank you very much, Sandra. Really, your evaluation, your being the general evaluator, is doing us a hell of a lot of good. This is the type of general evaluations we need, and this will make us all grow. I really appreciate that. Would you mind switching off the recording for 1 minute and then start it again, because we need to talk about elections.